Democratic candidates for president debated in Flint, Michigan, which is suffering through a water crisis.
Both candidates agree more has to be done to bring people clean water.
Everything that is done has to be triple checked to regain your trust and to hold those who are responsible for fixing the pipes and delivering the clean water.
If state government, for whatever reason, refuses to act, children in America should not be poisoned. Federal government comes in, federal government acts.
Both Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders say Michigan Governor Rick Snyder should step down. They also agreed on a mutual respect despite disagreeing on some issues.
You know, we have our differences, and we get into vigorous debate about issues. But compare the substance of this debate with what you saw on the Republican stage last week.
If elected president, going to invest a lot of money into mental health. And when you watch these Republican debates, you know why we need to invest in mental health.
Hillary Clinton says right now she's the only candidate to have more votes than Donald Trump. And Bernie Sanders says polls show he would defeat Trump by a wider margin.
Sanders won the Maine caucuses. That's his third win of the weekend. It's also his third win in the Northeast region. Hillary Clinton still leads him in wins and delegates. Republican presidential candidate Marco Rubio has now won 2 times. He has won the Republican primary in Puerto Rico in a landslide. Rubio is expected to pick up all 23 delegates there. He could need a victory in his home state of Florida on March 15th for him to keep going. John Kasich also needs a big win in his home state of Ohio that day. California Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger is endorsing him. Tomorrow's primary in Michigan can also be big for Kasich's campaign.
Donald Trump is coming to Chicago. He is giving a speech at the UIC Pavilion Friday night. Admission is free, but it requires a ticket. Protesters are also planning to be there to get those free rally tickets so Trump supporters don't get them. Ted Cruz will be in town as well. He's attending a fundraiser for Governor Rauner at the Palmer House Hilton. The Illinois primary is March 15th, but early voting already started. Polls show Trump and Clinton are the clear favorites.
Joining us now to talk about the presidential race is Ben Epstein, an assistant political science professor at DePaul University. Thanks for being here again.
Absolutely, thanks for having me. Good morning.
So the tone of the debate, it did get a little bit heated at times, but most of all, it was the two of them punching against the Republicans.
Yeah, last night it was interesting. They really did go after not only the issues and Republicans, but after each other a little bit. I think it was pretty heated, but in a really substantive way. I think there was such an obvious difference between the tone, the substance, virtually everything, the crowd even, of the debate last night compared to the Republican debate from last week.
So if Bernie Sanders' one issue, as they say, is Wall Street and corruption on Wall Street, how is Clinton countering that message with her relationship with Wall Street and just in the economy in general?
Well, in terms of breadth of issues that they're talking about, I don't think that there's any question that Hillary Clinton is more comfortable talking about a number of issues than Bernie Sanders. But Bernie Sanders does a great job. I thought last night was one of his strongest debates so far. But in terms of her coziness with Wall Street, it's something that will continue to come up as long as Bernie Sanders is in the race, and he is likely to be there for a long time.
But what's the end game for him? Is it just to say, I want my people to know, I want her to take up my whatever issues I'm bringing up and carry it in the long term? Yeah. Because as far as those super delegates, he can't win the nomination, can he?
Well, that's a great question. It's not impossible for him to win the nomination, but as of right now, he would need to win approximately 55% of all of the remaining delegates to win the nomination outright, and including superdelegates, unless there was a major change in superdelegates, he would need to win closer to 60%, which would be very difficult as the races have been going so far, especially with her polling lead in a number of states. So I think, yeah.
On the Republican side, do you sense a momentum shift at all with Donald Trump?
I think perhaps somewhat. I think that the Romney speech and the overwhelming effort on the part of not only Republican establishment, but a number of Republican media or sort of conservative leaning media members to talk about Trump have mattered, but there's been a growing amount of distrust of both politicians and the media that's grown out of conservative rhetoric for 30 or 40 years, and that's helped to sort of stymie some of that criticism.
How possible is it for Donald Trump to reach that magic number of delegates that he needs? He's not close to the 1,200,
right.
So are we looking at for sure one of those conventions where it's a first vote, second vote, or what do you think is realistic at this point?
I don't think that it's a guaranteed contested convention, but I would say that Hillary Clinton's path is much, much, much easier than Donald Trump's. The longer that everyone else stays in, the other three candidates on the Republican side stay in, the more difficult it will be for him. And I think that if Rubio, for instance, wins the winner-take-all in Florida, if Kasich wins the winner-take-all in Ohio, which are, I think that the latter is much more likely, frankly, those would be very big obstacles to Trump getting 1237.
Why is Rubio faltering where so many see him as this great talent? Is it the weakness he showed in that debate, or is it how he got dragged into the mud with Trump? Well, what is it?
I think that some people look at Rubio as a young, charismatic, smart guy who might not necessarily have had the entire strategy put together, or maybe he had a strategy put together and Donald Trump just threw a monkey wrench into it in a way that was hard to really prepare for. And the same way that Jeb Bush seemed not inevitable, but seemed to be a front runner and never really got much traction. I think that Rubio is a really strong candidate, and if he can win Florida, and he really has to win Florida, I think that he could gain a lot of momentum moving forward, but time will tell.
All right, Ben Epstein, thanks so much for joining us
Thank
this
you,
morning.
Ben.
Absolutely.
7:37 now, taking a look at some of the